The biggest question is trying to convince the peoples of Europe and their political leaders that there is a role for gas in combating climate change. At the moment, there is an assumption that because gas is a fossil fuel, that it is therefore in and of itself bad. But the point is, gas is the least polluting of the fossil fuels. And what we're seeing at the moment is that because of the relatively high cost of renewables, at the moment, you are seeing the gap in the market being filled not with gas, but with coal, which is far more polluting than gas. So we need to find some kind of way to bring gas back into the equation. At the same time, while trying to convince politicians that gas can be part of the solution, we have to remember that in the long run, maybe 15 or 20 years, we will also have to think how to phase out gas in order to have a future that is much more strongly based on renewables. My own assumption is that at some stage we will have to introduce carbon taxes that bite. But it's extraordinarily difficult right now at a time when people are paying high energy bills, when there are protests about energy bills all over Europe. The idea of any kind of taxation that impacts on energy is anathema. So right now, the one thing I would focus on is a campaign to try to say gas can help solve our problems in the short to medium term, but we will not rule out how to work out how to replace it in the longer run. It has two roles. The first is simply as a source of supply. It's a new additional source of supply. That means diversification. That improves European energy security. At the same time, the energy infrastructure required to bring that gas to Europe makes it possible to bring in other gas. We are seeing at the moment the development of a string of connected pipelines, one through the South Caucasus, which exists and is being enlarged, a second brand new across Turkey, and a third brand new from Turkey to Italy. Put together, those three pipelines will only initially be carrying roughly half their capacity. There is room for a lot more gas to go into the system. The good thing is that there are other sources of gas that could use that. Gas from North Iraq, gas from the Eastern Mediterranean, and perhaps, though this is far more complicated to arrange, gas from Turkmenistan. But essentially it's a new channel, a new artery for Europe to receive gas supplies. And it does have one impact that is worth considering. If you get a new source of gas coming into Europe, you increase the amount of competition in the European market. That exerts a positive, from a consumer perspective, influence on prices. Doesn't guarantee that they will go down, but it certainly limits any prospect of them going up. The Eastern Mediterranean is absolutely fascinating. It has a big problem, which is that you've got one major resource that has been discovered, the Israeli offshore fields of Leviathan and Tamar, and you have got one modest discovery in Cyprus, Aphrodite. The problem is that Aphrodite alone is not big enough really to do anything more than serve the Cyprus domestic market. However, there are chances, indeed very good chances, that more gas will be discovered. So therefore the question is not whether it will change the European market or the global market, but the timing. And the problem with the small size of the Aphrodite field is it delays prospects for an LNG plant on Cyprus, and Cyprus is the logical place for an LNG facility to be located. What else can be done? You could think of pipelines. The Turks and the Israelis have discussed, at least informally, the idea of pipelines between their country. The problem is they would have to go through Cypriot waters, and that means in practice, if not in law, you need the support of the Cypriot government. And you won't get the support of the government of Cyprus unless you have a resolution to the overall problem of the division of the island. But there is one other prospect that is quite intriguing, which is you could conceive of gas in the Eastern Mediterranean not being developed as LNG or piped, but being compressed into specialist maritime tankers. This is a technology that has not been tried, but it's quite interesting that one of the companies that is looking very closely at the possibility of taking a major stake in the Israeli Leviathan field, an Australian company called Woodside, is itself looking at compressed gas for its operations in Australia. So it is just possible that we should be considering three options: pipelines, LNG, and compressed gas, in considering how gas from the Eastern Mediterranean reaches world markets.